Dr. Fauci, did you ever treat a patient for COVID during the pandemic?
I was part of a team that was at the NIH that took care. We didn't take care of many of them.
Okay, so not hands-on. Got it. Thank you.
You think can be done about it? I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Siemano, ponieważ w mainstreamowym szambie na jedynce cisza, na Polsacie cisza, na TVN-ie cisza, na Pudelku cisza, w Onecie cisza i tak dalej, chciałbym podbić temat, wzmocnić temat i podesłać wam 2 materiały. Podlinkuję je oczywiście, także będziecie mogli sobie je pooglądać w oryginale. Chodzi o przesłuchanie współczesnego doktora Mengele, czyli Antonego Fauci. To przesłuchanie miało miejsce dosłownie parę dni temu. Fauci Mengele był przesłuchiwany przez kongresmenów, przez różnych polityków w Stanach Zjednoczonych odnośnie podjętych procedur i ogólnie polityki zdrowotnej w czasach wojny z niewidzialnym wrogiem. I tutaj wypowiada się jeden z lekarzy, który jednocześnie był i politykiem, i lekarzem, leczył pacjentów i tutaj zadaje kilka, albo przytacza kilka konkretnych przykładów, albo ma okazję zadać pytania doktorowi Mengele, czyli doktorowi Fauci. Posłuchajcie tego wszystkiego, posłuchajcie jakie metody były używane do tego, aby nas przymusić do dobrowolnego przyjęcia zbawiennego preparatu, za który nikt nie bierze odpowiedzialności, aby nas przymusić do przyjęcia 2-dawkowego preparatu, który okazał się 10-dawkowym preparatem terapii genowej, bo to nie jest żadna, wiadomo, na słowo, ale to i tak cenzura będzie już dołować mój film, ponieważ mój kanał jest na Shadowbanie, więc to już nieważne. Kłamali, jak mówili, że to jest szczepionka. To nie była żadna szczepionka, to była broń biologiczna. Miejcie tego świadomość. Wiem, że wielu z was jeszcze nie orientuje się w sytuacji. Wiem, że wielu z was nie łączy swoich chorób, śmierci swoich bliskich z różnymi zabiegami, które miały miejsce. Dzięki między innymi właśnie Kosiniakowi z Kamyszem, który mówił, przymuszał, szantażował, szczuł na ludzi, którzy nie chcieli. I Kosiniak z Kamyszem mówił, lockdown całkowity dla niezaszczepionych. Ja się nie dziwię, że część z was uległa, część z was się dała zastraszyć, część z was po prostu poddała się szantażowi emocjonalnemu, różnym innym zabiegom socjotechnicznym, żeby tylko mieć święty spokój, żeby tylko nie być wyzywanym od szurów, od jakichś tumanów, od płaskoziemców i tak dalej. Nie chcieliście być wytykani palcami, nie chcieliście być poddawani naciskom. Ja to rozumiem, nie mam do was pretensji. Mam pretensje do chociażby takiego Mengele, czyli Fauci. Mam pretensje do chociażby takiego Kosiniaka z Kamyszem. Bandyto, ty jeden z drugim. Nie tylko Kosiniak jest bandytą pod ochroną służb specjalnych. Takich bandziorów, takich mafiozów jest znacznie więcej, ale to osobny temat. Posłuchajcie drugiego też tematu, podlinkuję wam wszystko. Posłuchajcie, co mówi człowiek, który napisał w Stanach Zjednoczonych prawo odnośnie broni biologicznej i teraz połączcie sobie kropeczki i zastanówcie się, w czym wzięliście udział, zastanówcie się, co zrobicie, kiedy następny raz ta mafia wystartuje do nas wszystkich ze zbawiennymi jakimiś preparatami wstrzykiwanymi przez igiełkę i zapytajcie Kosiniaka z Kamyszem, czy przyjął 5., 6., 7., 10. dawkę, zapytajcie Pazurę, zapytajcie Jandę, zapytajcie dziesiątki, setki innych sprzedawczyków, którzy was zastraszali i naganiali do tego, abyście wzięli udział w tym procesie. Nie chcę go nazywać do końca ale myślę, że część z was już się zorientowała, co to się dzieje. I miejcie świadomość, że to wszystko jest rozłożone w czasie, żebyście się nie zorientowali, że to wszystko jest połączone i niech Bóg ma w swojej opiece, ponieważ ci zwyrodnialcy, ci zbrodniarze, ci bandyci, łącznie z Kosiniakiem Kamyszem i z setkami innymi polityków i innych sprzedawczyków, lekarzy, dziennikarzy, aktorów, piosenkarzy, którzy szczuli na was, którzy zachęcali was na różne inne sposoby, którzy szantażowali was, którzy was oszukiwali i tak dalej. Zastanówcie się, jak to wszystko rozwiązać, czy jesteśmy w stanie wyciągnąć konsekwencje od tych bandytów, a jeżeli nie, to niech nas Bóg ma w swojej opiece.
Dr. McCormick for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wenstrup, Chairman. It's been insinuated that politicians, only bloggers, only conspiracy theorists are disagreeing with you I want to point out that I'm probably the only member of Congress that actually treated patients during the pandemic from the very beginning to the very end of the pandemic, during night shifts in the ER. Thousands of patients during that time. And in 2020, I was censored. My medical license was threatened because I disagreed with bureaucrats. Literally taken off the internet as a person who is treating patients with leading-edge technologies, developing theories, but doing my very best, but being censored by the United States government for the first time, stepping in and taking the place of medical professionals as the experts in healthcare. Any dissent surrounding COVID-19 treatments, mask mandates, and any public policy surrounding the pandemic was immediately labeled as anti-science. I watched as public health officials and politicians told my patients what treatment options were best for them, regardless of their comorbidities or their medical history. Despite my education and my training and my experience, my opinions were relegated to conspiracy and misinformation by so-called healthcare experts who had never treated a patient throughout the entire pandemic. This has been a black eye on the medicine and has highlighted why government should never insert itself in between patients and their healthcare providers. The American people deserve to make medical decisions through conversations with their physicians rather than politically motivated mandates. Dr. Fauci, did you ever treat a patient for COVID during the pandemic?
I was part of a team that was at the NIH that took care. We didn't take care of many of them.
Okay, so not hands-on. Got it. Thank you. Why would I be criticized by a bureaucrat for doing my very best as a healthcare? This is a rhetorical question. But why? Why would the government, who's never treated a patient for COVID, you can read all the things you want, but you're not there. You're not seeing patients. You're not watching people die, intubating patients right there with that disease in your face, watching it happen, watching the development of this disease and actually learning from it. But I'm being told by bureaucrats what's right and wrong. And what's funny is everything I was censored on, I was proven to be right. Pretty crazy, isn't it? You said in an interview that you gave as part of an audiobook written by Michael Spector that you believed an institutional should make it hard for people to live their lives so they'd feel pressured to get vaccinated. Could we run the audio clip on that, please?
You think can be done about it. I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and
Thank
that's
you.
not what I was referring to.
Well, in reference to making it hard for people to get education, traveling, working, I'd say it very much was in context. And I take great offense to this. Miss Allison Williams testified before this committee about losing her job because she sought an exemption for ESPN's vaccine mandate, which came from recommendations from bureaucrats like yourself. She and her husband were actively working with a fertility expert, a physician, on how to get pregnant, and agreed with the premise that she was young, healthy, wanted to get pregnant, and shouldn't get the vaccination for medical purposes. But she was fired because you made it hard, just like you said in your statement, because you didn't want to make sure that the ideological bullshit got in the way of her working, of living her life, of making a medical decision with her healthcare professional. I think America should take great offense to this. That's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live without getting a vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights. Shame on you. Dr. Fauci, you've become Dr. Fear. Americans do not hate science. I don't hate science. The American people hate having their freedoms taken from them. You inspired and created fear through mass mandates, school closures, vaccine mandates that have destroyed the American people's trust in our public health institutions. This fear you created will continue to have ripple effects over generations to come. You have already seen its effects in education, in the economy, and everything else. Quite frankly, you said, if you disagree with me, you disagree with science. Dr. Fauci, I disagree with you because I disagree with fear. And with that, I yield.
I've studied every international organization going back to the 1899 Hague Peace Conference. You can read my book, Foundations of World Order. And in all that study, this is the first time ever that I have read of a draft plan to create a totalitarian medical police state for the entire world. The United Nations is not that. It was never set up that way. It can't function that way. But this WHO treaty and health regulations have been deliberately designed by lawyers who have as much competence as I do to set up a totalitarian worldwide police state so that the orders will be coming directly out of the WHO and transmitted all the way down the line to your personal physician, who will be compelled to do whatever the WHO tells him or her to do. It'll be even worse than the Frankenshots during the COVID pandemic. And we all know the WHO is a front organization, all right, for Big Pharma, for the Chinese Communist government, for Bill Gates, and the biowarfare industry. What happened here, Colonel, is because of the grassroots opposition to what was coming out of the federal government on these totalitarian measures dealing with COVID-19 and the Frankenshots, the Biden administration decided to go over to the WHO and set it up there to circumvent our constitutional processes here in the United States, and to get a treaty and or these regulations that they could then bring back here in the United States and enforce against our state and local elected officials, like Governor DeSantis, your Attorney General, and against our public health officials by means of the Supremacy Clause of the United States of America, and saying, well, now we have a treaty and you must obey the treaty. Or now we have these health regulations that are an executive agreement, like a treaty. And now you at the state and local basis must obey the edicts coming out of the WHO. And this, Colonel, despite the fact that the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution, this is what they're trying to circumvent here, Colonel. Let me...
Well, you'll be happy to know that our country, our choice, has taken a very strong position on this matter, and urging everyone to contact their respective representatives to oppose this treaty. Right. And the biggest challenge that we have, of course, is to educate the members of Congress. Some are simply not interested. You always encounter that sort of thing, but there are many, many, many who really simply don't know what this is about.
The 10th Amendment, which they're trying to I won't go through all the Supreme Court cases and that here.
Yes.
The 10th Amendment clearly says powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Now, that deals with public health, because under our Constitution, the 10th Amendment, public health is not a domain